Get ready to rise above the noise and unlock your true potential. Welcome to Unapologetic Uplift, the podcast that's all about keeping it real and helping you live your best life. Buckle up. Get ready to learn, grow, and evolve with us on Unapologetic Uplift. New episodes released weekly.
Welcome to Unapologetic Uplift. I am your host, Kim Staples, joined by my stunning co-host, Ianthe Mauro. And today we are diving into really, I think, one of our favorite topics. Definitely one of my favorite topics. I'm not going to speak for Ianthe, but that is personal transformation and what that really looks like. I'm not talking the Instagram highlight reel. I'm talking the real, raw, messy, genuine and authentic self-transformation, something that we are continuously riding ourselves. And I think both of us are in the midst of yet another personal transformation, dark night of the soul. You know how it goes. But let's dive into this hot topic.
Woo! And speaking of hot topics, we're going to start with a candle. I'm going to set an intention on a candle, and it's going to be one of my Objects with Purpose candles, and my 3-wick, my original. Makes me so happy. I'm making these again. And this one happens to be Fertile Ground, which is perfect because fertile ground is about grounding and coming back to ourselves. So I'm setting the intention here that everyone that listens to this podcast today and wherever you are, you find it in yourself to go even deeper in your ability to be real. Because that is the core of, I believe, of personal transformation. So to realness.
And so it is. I feel like so many people wouldn't know authenticity if it punched them in the face. And I mean that in the most sincere, genuine, kind, and loving way, because at times throughout my life, I wasn't authentic myself and didn't really know who I was because I was so consumed with pleasing everybody else. So if that happens to be you, I see you, I love you, and it's never too late to tap into your true essence and authenticity.
I'd say that it could be one of our goals to punch everyone in the face spiritually with authenticity on Unapologetic Uplift. It sounds good to me. I'm ready for that. I'm ready for that smackdown of authenticity. So why do what you said is true, and I think I feel for. Then I get like this massive dose of compassion that comes in because I go, wow.
Yeah.
People are everyone gets, including myself, I've had this happen. I get so caught up in what I think I'm supposed to look like or how it might land on people and that's the key, everyone. This is the key. You know that you're not authentic, truly, when you're so wondering, what is it going to look like to others? So when and yet there is something very professional and mature about recognizing that people will be looking at you in a certain way and understanding that, being able to take on like that role of, I'm going to sit here for a minute as my audience and I'm going to imagine how I land on them. That's not entirely bad, but it could be a sign that you're not allowing yourself to be truly authentic, because when we're really authentic, we don't care at all what other people think. We actually don't care how we land. We can clean it up later. If we happen to land funky on somebody, then we can go back and say, and own our part in that and be able to look at that. But
if it feels aligned.
If it feels aligned. Exactly. But having a filter on everything that we do with the question of, how is this going to look to others? Will this move the needle on what it is that I want? Oh, and here's an interesting one. I heard this, Kim, and I'm having an issue with it. I'm wondering about this. So what do you think of this? I read that if you're a person that goes to an event, a party, anything where you're out in public, and you get in the car afterwards or you get home afterwards and you ask your partner, how did I seem at the party? Did I say the right thing? Did you think I came off this way or that way? That is a sign of really not being authentic and not being yourself, because you've been playing a role, you've been wearing a mask. So you're asking like, how was the mask? How did the mask look? Basically is the gist. And I thought about that. I thought, oh my gosh, I did that so much, especially in my 20s, 30s, 40s. I remember saying to friends or family, did I sound okay when I said that? And there's a part of me that this is, I'll just say it sounds narcissistic to care so much about what other people thought about what I said. And I'm cringed out that I did that. I stopped doing it. And maybe that's a good sign because I'm not as much wearing masks. At least I consciously don't want to be wearing masks. But I wonder what you think about that. Is it a sign maybe that you're not being authentic, or do you think there's value in that? I'm wondering how you land on people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be coming from a place of people pleasing and caring too much about what other people think. It depends, like going to a party in a social setting. Yeah. For me, I feel like that's might be trying a little bit too hard personally. Not to say that I've never been there, because like I said, there are times where that's all I cared about. And I was showing up in a way that was trying to get people to see me the way I wanted to be seen and feel about me the way I wanted them to feel about me. But I think there might be some value in that. Say if you're public speaking and you want feedback to improve, or something where you're learning and you genuinely want to get the feedback. So I think it's a situational thing. And there could perhaps be benefit in certain situations.
Well, thanks for saying it that way. That's exactly right. I totally agree with you. It's a situational thing, because there are times when it's not people pleasing to ask, how did I seem that day? It's also because I want to let everyone know this, as you are doing personal transformation, which is what we're talking about here today, as you're in the process of personal transformation, which I wish for everyone to always be in that process, by the way. I don't think it's a one and done ever. Like, we're always in it. I hope that you will ask for feedback from the people that matter, not from social media and bullshit, but from the people that really their opinion matters to you, because they love you and they get you. I think it's wonderful then, and can be a very vulnerable and helpful tool to ask, how did I seem? Because as you're trying on new ways of being completely you with radical transformation, personal growth, it will feel uncomfortable at times, and you'll go, is that really me? Did I really say that? Did you hear that? And you kind of need that safe witness to know that, oh yeah, I did. And I must be improving, because I actually was at that party and I spoke about a subject which normally I would have been afraid to talk about, because I would have thought in the past I would have been ostracized for even bringing that up. So I think, yeah, it's super helpful for personal growth to have that safe person to check in with about, how are you seeing what I'm seeing and feeling?
Yeah. And it's always nice to have people that can give you honest feedback from the heart.
Yeah.
But I really want to know, what does personal transformation mean to you?
Ooh, it means getting rid of habits that are just habits, but you're taking a really good look at them and saying, why do I do this? You are analyzing your why, your purpose, how you feel in your body, and the choices that you're making in order to up level. That's personal transformation to me.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say very similar for myself. For me, it means facing the parts of you that make you uncomfortable, first and foremost, which can be really challenging. And we can have a lot of things on an unconscious level, which for me, why it's so important for me to constantly have mentorship and people that I can have hold the torch for me and hold up the mirror and show me my blind spots. I go through these periods where I learn and evolve and I grow. And then I notice that I get comfortable again and will often have these unconscious comfort zones that I am not really aware of in the moment. So for me, it's huge to to have somebody that can show me my blind spots, for somebody to hold up the mirror, which is often relationships and our deepest relationships. People are always mirroring back to us, and just being willing to take radical self-responsibility and really dive into the shit that makes me uncomfortable. This is so easy to avoid. And that is where I find true growth comes from. And just being willing to step out of the comfort zone.
Yeah. And I wrote down, we tend to do what we want, and what we want is rarely to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so that's where the challenge is. It's like, oh, I'm doing, why do I want to be uncomfortable? Well, when you're growing as a little kid and your bones are literally growing so that I remember these horrible pains I would get in my shins because growth is uncomfortable, even physical growth. When we're growing, it hurts. But why? Okay, why? When we're hurting, when it's uncomfortable, when it's yucky and it hurts, there's no room. There's very little room, I'll say. There might be some room, but there's very little room to mask in those moments of pain. And so I think that we're given this tool of painful growth because having that pain forces us to be in that moment. We can't then, when it hurts and it's uncomfortable and we're nervous and we're exposed, we don't have time, room, space to do much else. It puts us in the moment. And that's where, and then we up level. And it gets more and more exciting as we go. I just turned 55, and I'm going to say, it sounds weird to say that, and I feel like I'm making that up, and it's not true. Because how have I been on this planet for 55 years? But I have. And I keep learning. I hope to keep growing. I hope to keep putting myself in uncomfortable situations so that I can continue to be brought into the present moment, like with just unapologetically, for lack of a better way of putting it. And it's a process that never stops. So I find when I welcome, and I wonder if you're like this, but when I'm too comfortable and I'm going to go off on a tangent. When I'm too comfortable, I think there's that part of me that goes, there's another shoe that's going to drop, and there's this trauma thing that's just a habit in me. Oh, things can't be this good. There must be something really bad coming down the road. So if you do that, anybody listening, just stop. I'm going to stop it too. Let's stop it together.
I used to do that a lot too.
Right? I recognize that's not helpful. So
I love that. I love that. It's like an elephant in the room, right? And that's what it's really about, facing the elephants in the room. But something I want to touch on that you said, because you said there's nowhere else to go but to be present. And while that's true for us, that's not true for everybody. A lot of people avoid and numb. And this is something that I used to do in the past.
True.
I would, rather than facing the elephant in the room and facing the shadows, because we can't transform what we can't face. And you and I have gotten really good at facing those things. But there was a time when I would avoid it like the freaking plague, and I would numb with substances. And that was when I was completely dysregulated, disconnected, and basically just going through the motions of life. So the only reason I bring that up is because I know that actually there are more people that live this way. Our way of doing it, while it feels completely natural and normal to us now, is not the mainstream yet. And I think it's so easy for us to forget that because we're so embodied in it. But I personally have not always been. And there has been this deep unraveling of transformation to come back to myself. And I think that there's a lot of myths around transformation, like it can happen overnight. And people may think that it's easy. And it isn't easy and it is uncomfortable. So I think that's why a lot of people avoid it. But what is the alternative? Yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's a short-term pain for a long-term gain. When we avoid and we are only going through the motions and we're not healing and constantly growing and evolving and committing our lives to being the best possible versions of ourselves, we will never be fulfilled. And I will die on this hill, but you will not be fulfilled if you are not facing your shit, feeling your emotions, growing and healing. It's the perfect pool for stagnation. And sadly, it's where so many people live.
Amen to that. And I'm sorry, I'm going to just say that I don't care, everyone, if you don't like me telling you what to do. And I have a big don't tell me what to do, but I'm going to tell you right now, stop drinking alcohol. How about start there? The reason I say that, and I know that could be controversial, and I don't give a fuck. I'm going to tell you right now, okay? I'm going to tell you right now because you brought it up when you said numb. It is
And I
not
was drinking a lot of alcohol at that point. Every weekend I was numbing with alcohol, and every evening I was numbing with marijuana.
I feel so incredibly, as corny as this sounds, called to say this, but please stop drinking alcohol. I am telling you right now what to fucking do. If you stopped drinking alcohol, and you might say, that's stupid, I really enjoy my margarita with my girlfriends, or I really enjoy wine with dinner with my husband. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not talking about an alcoholic. What is the purpose of alcohol? If you tell me that the good, and I actually can't even speak to this because I don't drink and I never have. The only time I ever drank, I knew when I drank, I had this massive, massive reaction physically. I passed out and I woke up and I was in the arms of a man. I was 14 years old and a man was carrying me on a street who I'd never seen. And I
Ugh.
looked at, yeah. And then he dropped me on the ground and I hit my head. And I made a point that day. I said, this is not for me. I can't do this. This is incredibly dangerous. Now, that's my personal experience, and that's not everyone's. And yes, I've been told I have really strong self-control to be able to say I'll never drink again and to actually never drink again. And I
Yeah.
mean, I've never tasted a beer in my life. I've never tasted, name any of the alcohol. I've never even tasted it, because what I got drunk on was the last thing I ever drank. So, but why I say this isn't to, listen, Kim, people hate me for this. When I talk about this, they think I'm such a goody two shoes. I'm such a know-it-all. I'm so like, oh, you have no idea what you're talking about, Ianthe. I don't care about any of those opinions, because what I'm going to tell you is I've had this massive understanding that came from somewhere, that alcohol is called spirits because it brings
Mm-hmm.
and draws in evil spirits. Maybe it makes you become like an evil spirit or your
It's so
spirit,
true.
but it's an opening to things that are not going to serve you ultimately. And it is a numbing and it is an excuse. And I'm sorry, all of you that love your alcohol, if you just stop that one thing, you would have radical, I'm telling you right now, personal transformation just from
Mm-hmm.
doing that one thing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, do you if that's what you want to do, by all by all means. But yes, it is called spirit. They are called spirits for a reason, and it does open up that portal for whatever to be able to come through, and you lose your inhibitions, which is the scariest part. And I think of my ex-husband a lot when I hear this and when I reflect on this, because that was the root of the root of evil.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's done some really terrible things. And I know in there is a good person, but it always goes back to the alcohol. And I could go down a whole rabbit hole on this, on alcohol. But like Ianthe said, if you give up alcohol, you will have radical transformation 100%. Not only that, new research really does show that no amount of alcohol is safe. It shrinks
Thank
your
you.
brain and your organs and dries them all out. And believe me, there is no judgment here because I drank most of my adult life. Even once I started my healing and self-transformation journey, I was still not drinking as much, but I would still drink occasionally. And then it just got to a point where I was like, this isn't aligned with my values anymore. And I gave it up. So no judgment, but giving up alcohol it's such a journey of growth and self-development because you're no longer using that as a coping mechanism. You're no longer self-medicating. You're no longer relying on that to make you happy, to have fun. You learn to do those things naturally. And that, my friend, is when you become high on life.
Yes. And I know it might sound hard to say. I didn't say no judgment. I think it's a horrible thing for anyone to do to their body. And it's because I love you all and I love people that I don't want you to do horrible things to your body. And that's one. Now, there are so many we could go on a whole list.
Do a whole episode about this.
On vices and what's not good for your body. And if you gave up this, and then you go crazy because you're like, there's no way that I can actually there's no way that we could get rid of every vice. I do know that. And you're going to choose your poison. Okay. We all do the best we can with what we have and what we're able to do. Well, Kim's like, I don't know. We all do the best we can. I would like for you to all do the best you can.
I don't know that we can't have vices. I honestly would argue that at this point in my life, at least unhealthy ones.
Yeah.
Unhealthy ones.
What is a vice?
Yeah, I would say I think of vices as a way to cope, right? Something to make us feel better. And I genuinely do not have any unhealthy vices at this point right now. And I can say that truthfully from my heart. I don't numb with food. I don't numb with sex. I don't numb with shopping. I don't use any substances. When I feel dysregulated or something is not right, I go and I meditate. I go and I tap. I go and I do breath work. I go and cleanse my energy. And I will tell you, I get a bigger high from that than any other substance I've ever taken. It is euphoric in my body when I come back to myself. And again, this isn't something that happens overnight. This is a transformation in itself that has taken years for me to get to that point. But I cannot think in this moment of one unhealthy vice that I have.
I love you so much because I know you have talked about all of the unhealthy vices that you have had in the past and all of the numbing. And I want to say, I am so, so happy hearing you say that out loud and claiming that because I, as your witness, will tell you it's true. And everyone, this means I want you to be encouraged. Not that, oh, shoot, how will I ever be like Kim? But how about it's possible to be like Kim? It is so possible to make the choice. It's a conscious choice to raise your consciousness to the point where you're saying, I am not going to use anything that will hurt me, consciously knowing that it will hurt me in order to escape really feeling and really being. So thank you for that. And I think I'm the same. I think I don't have as well any vices that I'm using right now. And it is a conscious decision and it's not easy. And it does open us up to some weird scrutiny from people who don't trust it or think that it's possible, but it is. And the thing you mentioned, breath work. So for those of you that don't know, Kim teaches and coaches breath work, which sounds kind of like a trendy, what is breath work? What is that? But it's really focused breathing for a very specific reason to really be in your body and grounded and to help regulate your nervous system. And there's a lot of science behind why that works. And I'm going to tell you that in being led through her breath work, I felt the way I've heard it described people feel when they do mushrooms or they're on acid. I was leaving my body and I had all these amazing sensations and I was seeing colors. And all I was doing was breathing to Kim's voice leading me through.
Yeah.
So it's possible, everyone.
Yeah, we do use styles of breath work that will put you in an altered state of consciousness. There are all different kinds of breath work, some of them more deep, some of them to just regulate the nervous system. The breath is so unbelievably powerful. And you can start doing this today in your own home when you feel anxious, when you feel angry, when you feel upset. My daughter and I just taught a workshop for parents to teach them how to do this for themselves and their children. When you do slow diaphragmatic breathing, which is when you're breathing into your diaphragm. So I just want everybody right now, since we're here, put one hand on your belly, one hand on your chest, and take a nice deep breath in and notice where you're breathing. Where is that breath going? What's rising? Your belly or your chest? And about 95% of us are walking around and it's going into our chest. And when we're breathing into our chest, we're not breathing into our diaphragm. So this is actually shallow breathing. And this actually causes us to be in a constant state of low level stress. By breathing into our diaphragm, we're actually speaking to our nervous system. And we're telling it that we're safe and it's okay. So we're born breathing this way into our diaphragm. But over time, we develop this habit of these shallow breaths. So literally just put a timer on your phone for 3 minutes and take nice deep breaths in through your nose, into your diaphragm, and out through your mouth. And watch the difference in the way that you feel. If you're feeling anxious, stressed, agitated, any of the things that people associate as being a negative emotion. Sorry for going off on a tangent there, but I figured it was a good opportunity to share a life-changing tool with our listeners. But I would really like to take the conversation, if it's okay with you, into the elephants in the room, because I have recently had some of my own elephants in the room when I talk about somebody holding up the mirror and pointing out blind spots that I didn't really see, and that have been a huge part of my own personal transformation. Some that I did see myself and brought to my own attention, and some that my mentor has brought to my attention. And I know that you're in the midst of transformation. So I don't know if you want to share any of your elephants in the room, but that's what Unapologetic Uplift is about. So I would love to dive into that.
Introduce us to your elephants, please, Kim.
So let me first preface this by saying that facing elephants in the room is very vulnerable. And there's something in vulnerability that creates massive transformation in itself. So some of my elephants recently, start with the first one that I noticed on my own. And that was, I fall into this pattern of feeling like I want to fit in. And I will start to water myself down. And I will start to think about how I can get people to like me. And I will essentially, it's like falling back into those people-pleasing patterns, those inauthentic patterns. Not that I had allowed it to get that deep, but for me, it was looking like, oh, I just want to find like-minded people in my community. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting to find like-minded people in your community. And I was putting out posts in local homeschooling moms groups because I really want to find friends with similar values. And I want to be around people that are like me. And then once I started to connect with these people and realize, like, yeah, we have some things in common, but really they're not like me. They're still very different than me. And that's when I started to notice this, like, well, maybe I shouldn't tell them this about me. And I'm like, what the hell? No, like reality check. No. And I really had to sit with it because I'm like, why would I think that I couldn't be myself? And then I just remembered, I'm not meant to fit in. I was not put on this earth to fit in. I was put on this earth to lead and to walk people through transformation and all the things that I do. And if everybody were like me, how boring of a world would this be? But this has been a common theme throughout my entire life of wanting to fit in, wanting to be accepted, wanting to be loved. And of course, we all want that on some level. But I have always been kind of this outlier. And I've done a lot of work around that. But it was just another, oh, wow, interesting how this is still coming up. And interesting how I'm just going to fucking own being different. And once again, it is what it is. And then the coaching container that I'm currently in, it just so happened to be one of the themes that seemed to be holding people back from stepping into and fully owning their power and authority was that I'm okay with being different piece.
And I would say that everyone, if you look at, if you're wildly honest with yourself, there are parts of you that you're uncomfortable sharing because it feels vulnerable and you do think you're going to be judged. And I would say the second you choose to let that go, to stop holding back those parts for fear of others saying, ew, you will be making the conscious decision to have a massive transformation, a personal transformation. And it is completely, like you said, vulnerability is connected to the personal transformation. It really is. And so I'm watching you, and everyone watching, if you go back to some of our older podcast episodes, you're going to see a difference in Kim. You're going to see that she is making personal transformations, and it's showing up right now in real time.
Oh,
Just
thank you.
the way you're speaking, the way that you're relating, just the way that you are walking this in front of our eyes. And I guarantee you everyone can see it if they are watching and have
I
seen
hope
us.
so. Not for my own selfish reasons either. I hope people see this to inspire them and know that like I am intentionally showing up in vulnerability to share my personal transformations. And I have done this all along the way, I think, the vulnerably sharing what I'm experiencing and going through because I desperately want people to see themselves in me so that they can awaken that in themselves and know you can do anything that you put your mind to as long as you are committed to yourself.
Yeah. And I'm going to share my elephant in the room another time because I feel like yours is so important and we all need to just digest it a little bit more and be encouraged and influenced by what you just said and what you're doing. And so I just want to honor that and shine that light on you for a minute. And I don't need to say what mine is. We'll do that on the next episode. But one thing that I wrote down during this episode as we were talking is I came up with, there were 5 points, and there are probably a lot more. I want to leave everyone with tools for how, when you ask yourself, what is personal transformation? We both gave our own ideas of what that is. How do I do that? How do I start doing that? How do I know I'm doing that? And what I got from just listening to both of us was stop numbing. And that we all know what that means. They're different. For you, it's different. For me, it's different. But stop numbing. Notice where you're numbing and stop doing that. Cut vices to the best of your ability. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's the vulnerability, which is now the gateway to transformation. Breathe consciously. And lastly, number 5, find someone you trust, a mentor or a friend to check in with about your progress, how you're doing, someone that you can be with who can be witness to all this that you're going through. Because it is being vulnerable, but in nature means it's good to have somebody that you can go to. And maybe that's Kim and you reach out to Kim. Maybe it's me and you reach out to me and you want to check in with us. We're always available for that. And we always answer our DMs. So we want you to know that's always a possibility. We're not just a podcast talking at you. We're real people. We're moms. We're leaders. We're guides. We're creatives and we're entrepreneurs, and we are available for responding.
Yeah, totally. And I think it really begins with pulling back the curtain and being brutally honest with yourself. which is not an easy thing to do, especially if you're used to avoiding and numbing. And like, we're not saying make all of these changes overnight. It's okay to take baby steps and to start implementing one tiny thing at a time. And you're actually a lot more likely to be successful in that way. But yeah, it starts with facing yourself, holding up the mirror, and just being really honest. Ask yourself, where am I responsible for my own suffering?
And when you're doing that, and this is a big ask, don't be so hard on yourself. As you discover these things and you're looking,
Please. Thank you
yeah.
for saying that.
And in fact, I'm going to give you a little exercise. This could be fun. So when you're doing this massive inventory, this very honest inventory about what it is that you see in yourself that you've been either hiding for reasons of people pleasing, or it's a vice, or how about try using a silly accent, something that makes you laugh and makes it seem silly, and you say it to yourself in that accent. So even though you're pointing it out, you're noticing it, you recognize it, you're also having a very lighthearted way of looking at that so that you're able to deal with it. So it's not just pounding yourself with, oh, I have this elephant in the room and I'm this and I do that and I'm doing this and I hate that and I hate that, because that is not at all what we're advocating. So
yeah, it's not helpful. It's not
no.
helpful at all to be hard on yourself, and will actually stall your progress.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you an example. I have a little voice that I do. It's a saying and a voice. It's super simple. And I do this when I find I'm getting too serious and too hard on myself. I go like this. Oh, wow. And it
I've heard you
instantly,
do
like,
that.
I just do it. Oh, wow. And it can be something really, really what would look like really bad. And I just say, oh, wow. And as soon as I do that voice in that way, and I say exactly those two words, I'm relieved of the pressure of hating that thing or being so annoyed by that thing or being so angry at myself. And instead, I'm like, oh, wow, okay. And I'm going to work on it and not take it so seriously. And that is part of this, in my opinion, part of personal transformation is allowing yourself to not take yourself so seriously. It's to also have some fun, inject some fun in there.
Yeah, totally. I would agree with that. And to start, I think a great place to start as well is just like having that willingness to sit in discomfort, especially when it comes to the numbing. If numbing is something that is an issue for you, just start practicing sitting in that discomfort, putting off the numbing maybe, and see where that takes you.
Yeah, start by numbing less. You don't have to go cold turkey. And of course, if we're talking about actual substances, there are legitimate concerns about going cold turkey, and you need to do things responsibly, of course. But the idea is whatever you're using to numb yourself. And it might be a way that you self-talk is numbing yourself. I've done that before. My self-talk numbs myself. It's not even a substance that I'm taking. It's just the way that I'm relating to myself. Just to please look at that. The first thing is just recognize it. Where are you doing that? Start to notice it, name it, and then start to find ways to be uncomfortable and be okay with that. And just let us encourage you. Unapologetic Uplift. You will not be able to do radical transformation, personal transformation, or anything unapologetically if you're constantly numbing and using, in some cases, they call it like a crutch, or I don't know. But I just want to encourage you all to just, like I said, let's see on my list. 1, 2, 3, get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's really about shedding identities that once kept you safe.
Yeah, say that again. Say that again.
We're shedding identities that once kept us safe.
Yeah.
We're showing up as this version of ourselves because we want to be liked. We want to be seen in a certain way. And shedding that can be really, really uncomfortable, which is why I encourage anybody going through personal transformation to have community support. Even if it's just one person, it can be so isolating.
Yeah, and maybe that's something that we decide we're going to do is create a group around this, Kim, because it is needed. And I know that you and I are safe people for this kind of to honor people who are ready for personal transformation, unapologetic uplift. We could start a community. So I'm just going to say out loud, sounds like a great idea. I'm all in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why not? Yes, I think the reality of it's hard work, definitely worth it. But sometimes people look at, like, they imagine this final outcome of transformation, which, spoiler alert, it never ends. There's no final destination. But a lot of times we believe that it's like, if I do this, if I stop drinking, I'm going to become this and live happily ever after, or whatever the case is. And it's like, awakening is a never ending journey. You don't just have one awakening and it's like, we're here. It is an ongoing process. And it isn't an easy one, but it is a fulfilling one. And again, like, what's the alternative? But I think that it's important that people understand transformation isn't just like a happy, beautiful, it is a beautiful experience, but it's, let's be real about it. It is uncomfortable. There are
It's
often
also
physical symptoms that come along with it. And
it's also lonely, Kim. It's lonely because very few people are willing to do it for real. So
yeah.
you just by nature of saying I'm going to do some real, I keep using the word radical, but radical conscious growth and transformation, personal transformation, there are very few people that are willing to do that for real. So you are, by virtue of the fact that there's so few of us willing to do it, you're lonely. And I want you to know that I used to be terrified to be lonely. I hated it, and I would dumb myself down in order to think, I was thinking I won't be lonely if I act like everybody else.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was the most lonely. That's the spoiler alert there. I was the most lonely. So I would say risk feeling lonely, risk feeling uncomfortable in order to be rewarded with landing on what it really feels like to be unapologetically you and real, and to trust yourself that you're enough.
Yeah,
That's where
because you are, and you get to a point where, like, genuinely, you don't need anybody else. You can give yourself everything that you need, and then everything else is just like gravy boat. It's the cherry on top. And I think that's where I can't see why anybody wouldn't want to be there, but
it's a beautiful place to be, and it's okay to be lonely sometimes. What's wrong with that? I think we have so much judgment on that, but I would love to talk about what is loneliness? What is it really? And there are different levels to it, different reasons for it. But the kind of loneliness that I've experienced coming from me choosing me and being an advocate for myself growing, that's not a kind of loneliness that takes me down. It's a kind that removes a lot of shit out of my life.
yeah, detox.
And then you can choose wonderful people to be around, like Kim, who I chose. I choose to be around Kim. Nobody's forcing us to be together. No one's forcing us to do a podcast together every week. No one's forcing us to be friends. It's because I choose Kim, and I choose the people that I choose for different reasons, but it's conscious choices from a place of hopefully continually looking at what is nourishing to me
Mm-hmm.
and what
Yeah,
is.
exactly. Like, I literally was just reflecting the other day on how, when I was in my corporate career and I was going through the motions and dysregulated and not being true to myself and inauthentic, how in the morning it was like getting up and dreading going to work and having to do all the things, versus now how I'm excited to wake up, like genuinely excited, versus waking up with this anxiety in my heart, in my chest every morning. I genuinely love my life. Excited to get up and work, face the day, be with my children, all the things. At that point, I didn't know how to be present with my children. They were in daycare and school. And anyways, that's a whole other rabbit hole. I would love to give people some tangible practices that they could use to help themselves through any isolation they're feeling, discomfort with their self-transformation if they happen to be on this journey. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you mean right now, just off the top of our heads from our own experience?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, I want you to all write a letter to yourself, and I want you to write it from your future self in 1 year from now. Looking back, I want you to look back over the last year, even though you're here. So you're going to imagine that you're a year ahead. You're going in a time machine. You're looking back, and you're going to write to yourself, and you're going to tell yourself all of the amazing ways that you were brave and loving to yourself first and then others, how you got rid of all the distractions and the vices, and I want you to be very specific, and I want you to write this letter, and I want you to sign it in the most loving way possible as the witness to yourself for all the growth and transformation you did over this last year.
Love it. I love that so much. I was going to say, can you offer a journal prompt? But that's it right there. And I will go with, in terms of like journaling and writing and self-reflecting, having an honest look at yourself and asking that question I had mentioned before. Where am I contributing to my own suffering? Not to beat yourself up, just to bring it into awareness, because we can't change what we're not willing to face. And then look at one thing, just one thing that you want to change about the way you're showing up for yourself in the world, and decide what that one thing is, and then decide how you're going to take action on that thing. So then when you write this letter to yourself, do so from the place of having taken that action. Maybe you've taken more actions over the year. You can bring that into life that way. And then, of course, I'm going to suggest that you do things like emotional freedom technique tapping, the breath work, like the breathing exercise, just to help you regulate, because stepping out of our comfort zone, personal transformation can be really freaking uncomfortable, because we have these reptilian brains that were designed thousands of years ago for survival. And unfortunately, our brains haven't kept up with the times and still operate the same way. And when we step out of our comfort zone, our nervous system starts freaking out, and our subconscious mind starts telling us things to boot us back into our comfort zone, because that's what feels safe. The subconscious feels safe in what's familiar. So by doing these breathing techniques, emotional freedom technique tapping, you're regulating the nervous system and you're building safety in your body to be able to transform.
We'll do that with you, Kim. Are you still offering spaces in your morning divine activation group?
I sure am. And I'm actually going to be doing a free 3-day trial at the end of September. Let's see, do I have the dates handy? Go with me a second.
September 2025.
Yes, where are we? Going to start really promoting this soon.
All right, but you're all the first to hear it.
Yeah, why not? So September 22, 23, and 24th.
Perfect.
Let me just confirm, because I think I might have pushed it back one day based on my own. Yeah, sorry, 23, 24, 25. September 23, 24, 25. 23rd to 25th. I'm offering a 3-day taster of the Divine Activation membership, where you can come and tap with us in the morning. There will also be a healing session and some stuff around core trauma. So if that is something that you're interested in, feel free to reach out and I can get you on the guest list. There's no cost for it. You can just come and you can learn these tools and be able to utilize them yourself.
And I will be there, as I'm there every morning with her in the Divine Activation group. So can't wait to see whoever feels called to be there. And thank you, Kim. I'm so excited about all the ways that we're working to continually have personal transformations, micro ones, macro ones, daily, yearly.
And just one more thing I feel called to mention is sometimes, and this even happens to me still years into my self-transformation, self-development, I do this for a living, is we avoid on an unconscious level what needs to be faced. Because again, our nervous system and our subconscious mind likes to keep us nice and cozy. So I'd just love to give you a couple of little, if I'm doing this, maybe there's something that I want to look at. And some of those things might be over-explaining or overworking. So rather than the traditional, I'm drinking to numb, I'm eating to numb, keeping yourself busy can also be another way.
Massively.
And sometimes we hide behind spiritual work. So it's like, oh no, because we tell ourselves I'm doing the work every day. So how could I, of course, I'm constantly evolving and facing all the things. And then pretending you're fine when your body is screaming otherwise. The body doesn't lie. So if you're constantly feeling anxious, if you're constantly feeling sad or overwhelmed, just pay attention to those emotions because our emotions are messengers. And another one is constantly focusing on other people's problems to avoid your own.
Which is another form of distraction and a very easy one. And we do that often. That's also following the news too closely, following social media too closely, other people's lives that have nothing to do with you. And it goes back, I always ask myself, what's within my control and what is outside of my control? If you are focusing a big percentage of your day on what's outside your control, which is other people's problems and even the world's, even though you have compassion, if you're focusing on that and there's nothing you can do about it, I would suggest that that's a distraction from your own personal growth that will take you further away from it.
Yeah, very, very, very well could be. Yeah, so if you notice that you're doing any of these things or the more obvious ones, just ask yourself, like, what is the elephant in my room that I'm avoiding facing? And sit with that for a little bit and journal on it and don't take the first thing that comes up. What is it really? What is it really? And what am I scared will happen if I face it? Because we freak ourselves out, right? And it's like, everybody's going to hate me. People are going to think this about me. So what if they do? What does that mean? What's going to happen if people think that about me? And really get real with yourself, because when you dissect what you're actually afraid of, usually it's not that scary.
I love it.
I think that is our episode today. Thank you so much for being here with us. Please give us a like, a share, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Be sure to follow our Unapologetic Uplift Instagram page, and you can follow Ianthe and I. Let's connect, be friends, send us a message, say hi. We don't bite. And we look forward to being with you again next week.
Beautiful. Thank you all.
Love y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on Unapologetic Uplift. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share the love and tell a friend about us, and give us a review.
Please don't miss a thing. Subscribe to this podcast and explore our sponsors, Objects with Purpose, Eco Luxury Candles, and Divine Activation membership.
Objects with Purpose is more than an eco-luxury candle brand. They are time travel devices in the form of a candle. Light the 3 wicks representing past, present, and future with the validation that you are exactly where you need to be. And if you're ready to raise your level of consciousness and step into your unapologetic, unfiltered, and unbothered era, join the Divine Activation membership at cuttingties.coach/queen. With 3 tiers to choose from, you'll find the perfect fit to support your transformation.
Thank you for your listening and love. We'll see you next Wednesday on Unapologetic Uplift.
Welcome to the Divine Activation membership, a movement for women that are ready to raise their consciousness and step into their unapologetic, unfiltered, and unbothered era.
With your heart, live authentically and become the magnet for all of your soul's desire.
Grow, connect with your heart and body, release unhealthy and unhelpful thought patterns, heal old wounds, create new neural pathways, and reprogram your subconscious with high-value beliefs so you can manifest the life you're meant for.
Ready to take a break from what's holding you back? Visit cuttingties.coach and join the Divine Activation membership today. Hey, unapologetic souls. I'm Ianthe Mauro, founder of Objects with Purpose, candles that touch the soul and the body. I've released a limited edition 3-wick candle collection in 3 fragrances inspired by a time in history. The Time Travel Collection, because scent evokes memory and lighting a candle can truly transport you to your highest self. Anytime.
Ianthe's candles are truly special, clean, safe, even for the body as a solid perfume or massage oil, and smell amazing. But what truly fills her heart is empowering others to be seen in their best light.
In 2020, when the 200 stores that sold my candles across the country closed their doors, I knew it was time to give back. I started guiding others to launch their own candle companies and design candles and fragrances for other brands as a way to share light in a dark time.
So why settle for just any conventional candle? Light the 3 wicks in each Objects with Purpose candle. You're supporting handmade in California, small batch, artisanal, eco-luxury, and treating yourself to a memory-evoking evolution. Visit ianthemauro.com to discover your next favorite candle. Let the olfactory experience inspire cherished memories.